Hey, I'm Adam Glendie from the Pursuit Counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia, and every week we work with our clients on trying to make meaning out of their lives, make some positive changes, and understand the past. And today I want to talk with you about something I'm really passionate about. It's about a pursuit, endurance, and achieving something that you maybe have not achieved before. You see, this weekend, I was asked to be an official pacer at our local Rotary Peachtree City half marathon. And to be honest, I've never been an official pacer. So last year in January 2025, I ran my first half marathon in over a decade. And I trained my butt off to be able to run 13.1 miles as fast as I could. And it was really difficult because I had taken 10 years off and I was focusing on the weight room, bodybuilding, and trying to get as strong as I can because let's be honest, it's much easier to lift weights consistently than it is to run consistently. So I took about a decade off of running and focused in on the weight room. And in late 2024, I was noticing that I was in my 40s and I was, you know, having high heart rate, getting a little bit winded going up the stairs at my house or here at the office. And I was just not really happy with the state of my health, despite having muscle, despite having confidence that comes with that. I just was kind of struggling. And so in late 2024, I decided that I want to go back to something that I really enjoyed in my 20s, which was endurance running. And so I signed up for the Rotary Peachtree City Half Marathon to run it for the first time. And I ended up being pretty successful. And I finished somewhere around an 8:15 pace, sub 2 hours, and I was really proud of myself. And over 2025, I ended up running three ultra marathons of the 50K distance, and my fastest one was 6 hours and 30 minutes. And I loved everything about that. But I want to talk with you about the experience I had this weekend. Today's Monday when I'm recording this, and we ran the half marathon on Saturday. So this is a hot take. And I've spent all weekend reflecting on this experience, and I want to share with you some things that I thought were really important as a pacer and the honor and responsibility that I had in helping people get to the finish line, get some PRs, and build some confidence. So about 2 weeks before the race, the Peachtree City Running Club that I'm also a member of, they said, "Hey, Adam, we need more pacers, and I know you're racing it, but would you be willing to be an official pacer? Because I think that you would make people's experience fun." I love running in groups because the conversations that come up, building friendships over shared miles, and just reaching new distance, new speed, or just learning about yourself is something that I personally am excited about. And I love getting to share that experience with other people. So I agreed to be a pacer at an 8:30 pace, which meant that we were going to finish the race around an hour and 52 minutes. And if I was racing the race, I would probably have been running at around a 7:40, 7:45 pace, and which is really fast. And I knew that was not going to be an enjoyable experience for me if I was um, trying to pace other people while I was also racing. So I agreed to do an 8:30 because I can do that at a conversation pace, still make it fun for other people. And that was my specific goal. Run at a conversation pace and make it a fun experience. So the morning of the race, it was raining, it was cold. I think it was like 37, 38 degrees. It was wet, and people were nervous. Several people decided not to show up because it was cold and wet. But we had about 300 people that showed up in the cold and the wet, and they were ready to run. So we were at the starting line, and I was letting people know I had my little sign up, my little vest, and and official pacer, I'm going to get you to the finish line in an hour and 52 minutes. Stick with me and I'll get you there. And so I had a handful of people that said, hey, I want you to get me there. And I was super excited about that. So the race gets started, and it takes a couple miles for us to settle into that 8:30 consistently. We were a little bit fast on mile 3. I think we did it in a 8:09, but everybody was hanging in with us. And then we gradually got into that 8:30 pace consistently. And for the rest of the race, we were within a 2 or 3 second split each mile around that 8:30. And so I was really, really happy about that. Every mile, we celebrated where we were. We celebrated that we had gotten to 5 miles, 6 miles, that we were consistent. I was keeping people having conversation, asking about their lives, asking about their families, their careers. One of the runners, she had just given birth in 2025, and this was her first race back after giving childbirth. And so she was super excited that I was pacing her, and she was like, all right, just help me get there. Her previous PR in the half marathon was 1:55. And so when she found out that I was going to get her there in 1:52, she was determined and she was ready to do it. We had another guy that he said, all right, I'm going to stick with you up to 8 miles. And then after that, I'm going to go on my way. I'm going to use you for eight miles. And then I'm going to go after that. And then another person, she said, hey, I'm going to stick with you for about 5 miles, and then I'm going to go on my way. And we had a couple other people that said, hey, I'm going to try to hang, but I don't know if I can. So my job was to help each one of those runners get to where they needed to get so that they could reach their goals. And I learned so much about each person. We laughed when people were struggling. We offered mental breaks. I was telling dumb jokes, asking questions, trying to distract them from, the suffering that they were experiencing when they were, having their nutrition difficulties or hydration difficulties. I was reminding people every 30 minutes to have one of their gels, drink water. The aid stations were awesome. The volunteers, people that were telling us where to go, because we were running on a golf cart path for all 13 miles. And so there were some twists and turns that could have been confusing if those amazing volunteers weren't there. And I made my goal just make it a fun experience. And so the guy that was going to hang with us for 8 miles, he did that. And then he pushed on ahead. He even met us at the finish line because he finished about 3 minutes before we did, because his goal was an hour and 49 minutes. And he celebrated when the rest of us crossed the finish line. He was so grateful that he had someone there that was going to help him get to where he needed to get before he needed to make his final push. And he did it. And I am so proud of that guy. And then the mother, she was really incredible. She had a couple low points, and we pulled her out of it. We encouraged her along the way, and she kept going, and we finished exactly like we were supposed to. Um, and it was so great. Right before the finish line, I said, hey, this is your race. I'm actually going to pull back and you're going to finish because you want that race finish line photo with just you celebrating what you accomplished. And I was so proud of her for doing that. And then a couple of the other people that were running with us early on in the race, they hung out after they crossed the finish line to celebrate when each person was there. And it really was such an amazing experience. So, not to bore you with all the play by play of the entire race, I want to talk with you a little bit about the responsibility that I had as a pacer. And number one, each person identified their goal. Everybody's goal was a little bit different. They were going to hang out with the team for a little while, the group of us, and then they were going to push ahead. And it is important to identify that goal and your strategy and how you're going to get there. And when each person peeled off and they went faster, or the people that said, "Hey, I can't hang. I need to fall back." I said, "Hey, don't worry. There's another pacer that's running 15 seconds slower per mile than us. Go run with them." And so they knew that they had a stopgap right behind them that they could run just a little bit slower, and the people were going to help them get there. And that's amazing to think about, that if ever life gets so full, if ever you're stressed, if ever you need to fall back, identify the stopgap, identify that next point when you do pull back, to where when you do fall back, that you've got that support system in place. And the runners that did fall back and they went with that next pacing group, they ended up achieving their goal, even though it was a secondary goal. Sometimes races are more difficult than we think they're going to be. And sometimes they're going to be challenging. Your body is not going to be working the way it should. Maybe you catch a cramp, or maybe it's not your day. But identify that next stopgap. And each one of those runners did that. And they didn't blow up the entire race. They just had that stopgap. The next thing is that I knew my responsibility and I was prepared for my responsibility. In the 2 weeks leading up to that race, I practiced my pacing. Every run I did, I ran at that 8:30 pace because I wanted to be dialed in for the people that were counting on me. I made sure that I had my nutrition plan, my hydration plan, that I ran. The week before the race, I did a practice half marathon where I said, "All right, I want to be ready for next week. I'm going to do it exactly like I want to do it on that race." And so I was prepared so that I had confidence in leading and supporting those other runners. And then also the volunteers, the people that are the ancillary systems that are in place along the way. Every turn, someone was there telling us where to go, giving us guidance. And it was up to us to look for those volunteers, for them to tell us where to go. Without them, we could have made a wrong turn. I didn't have the map loaded up on my Garmin or on my Strava. And it was important for us to rely on the people that were there to tell us to go. And in life, we need those people. We need those advisors. We need those counselors. We need the people that are invested in our success. Every facet, whether it's the pacer, whether it's the volunteer, whether it's the friend. Oh my goodness, there were so many cool people out there that were cheering. They weren't cheering just for their friend or family member, they were cheering for everybody. And it's important to find those people in your life that are there cheering you along as you run that race and as you tackle life. So, I don't want to go on and on about this race, but I do think that those reflections of what is my responsibility, people establishing their goals in the beginning, and then also having secondary goals, so that if they do need to pull back, that they did have what they needed in place so that they could be successful. And then also remembering all the people there that are there to cheer us along. If you don't have people in your life that are cheering you along, it is important that you find those people. If it's at work, find them. Make sure you find people that are cheering you along, because you're going to go farther and you're going to be more successful when you have support systems. So, thanks for listening to my race recap and the lessons learned. I do want to say thank you to everybody that did trust me to help them get them to that finish line. didn't take my responsibility lightly, and we achieved our goal. So if you're looking for your next race, come talk to me. I love sharing miles, whether as a pacer, whether we're running the race together, or if we're just hanging out on a Saturday or Sunday morning, getting a few miles in. So I look forward to the next video.